We're getting up close and personal with all your favorite celebrities on the hottest weekend party show in the city, the Abbie Knights Show.
What's up, y'all?
You're listening to all the hits on the number one party show in the city, the Abbie Knights Show.
Tell a friend.
Hey everyone, and we're back today with a special guest, Miranda Writes. She's an incredibly talented artist, and she's also doing her thing in a big way on the sports side. How you doing? Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm happy to be here and chat with you. I appreciate it.
I was so hyped up to actually get a chance to speak to you and learn about your journey, because I was like, music and snowboarding, polar opposites, but you're killing it doing both. So I figured we'd start by taking it back a little bit and kind of learning a little bit about your childhood. Like, how did music and sports even happen? What were you like as a kid? Were you naturally into sports when you were a child, or how did
Honestly,
we get here?
so yeah, it's kind of funny. So in terms of the music side, like my parents were really just like big hip hop heads, and I had like every album. And I remember just going to school, and like Eminem was like my first like artist that I absolutely loved. Nobody else was allowed to listen to him at the same time. So I'm like, I have the new Eminem album, right? And then I've just always been into music. And then it really started off more so as like a poetry side. And it was really just a way for me to express myself. And then for whatever reason, like one day I decided, right, everything just kind of flows in the universe, to flip it over a beat one day, and probably the flow, everything was trash, but I was like, this is amazing, this is what I'm meant to do. And then I just didn't look back. I started uploading my covers and everything to YouTube, and then people in store were like, wait a second, you rap? I'm like, yeah, I do. And it really just became like, I was like, this is what I'm meant to do. And in terms of like the sports side, I've just always loved like the outdoors. Snowboarding was something that my mom, she grew up skiing. My dad's originally from the Bronx, so he was never really interested in like snowboarding at all. So she kind of got him into it. And then they actually just kind of dragged us as kids to the mountain. It was like a way kind of us for all to like hang out and like be together. But it just became something that I genuinely enjoyed to do. I was living in like Union City at the time, so nobody really was thinking about snowboarding. That's not something that we did, you know what I mean? So it was something that I just kind of started picking up on myself, and then I just started bringing other people into the sport. And then just being like a female like rapper, I was like, well, what other female MCs are into this? And honestly, I couldn't find one that was like, I couldn't find any other female rapper who was snowboarding. So I'm like, all right, if there's not somebody there, then you kind of have to be that person and that voice. And it was really just a way I started making more like music inspired like extreme sports, in hopes of just finding other people to ride with, just kind of connecting with other women in the community. And then I'm mixed as well. So it was kind of my way of just kind of trying to find other minorities within the community, and it became a movement, and one thing led to the next. And I mean, here I am now. So
That's so dope. I wish I could do stuff like that. Like I played sports a little bit when I was younger, but I definitely wasn't snowboarding and doing it like how you are. That's so crazy to me. I want to try it so bad, but my friends are like, listen, just be patient. Try it out one day, go on the kiddie slopes and try to see if you can stand up straight. And I hear great things about snowboarding, though. I hear it's like an incredible rush when you're doing it. And they say it's really peaceful at the same time, too. Yeah.
it is. I mean, that's always been like, that's why I started like snowboarding in general, was always a way for me to escape. Like when you're riding, it's not one of those things where you can be like riding down the slopes on your phone, checking your messages, your emails, like you're forced to be present.
Yeah.
So for me, it's always been a way to escape. But because of that, I like to share that feeling with other people, because really there's nothing like being on top of the mountain and just kind of being in that vibe and in that present moment. It's pretty dope.
That it sounds incredible. I just want to know though, because it's such a different thing, but it sounds like it's such a deep-rooted love for you on both sides. How would you compare your relationship with music and with snowboarding? because they're different, but it's kind of the same. It's kind of like when you hear a guy say that they're in love with two different women. I feel like you're in love with like two different things. You know, you got the music and you got snowboarding. So I just need to, like, how does this break down in your head? How does it work out?
Yeah, I mean, so like I said, I just was kind of making music as a way to like shed light on like the sport that I loved. And then what happened was there started being a lot of like pro riders that started to pay attention to what I was doing. So then word kind of got out into like the snowboarding community about how there was like this like female rapper making music about snowboarding. And it just kind of became this thing that I just connected with more and more riders in the community. And I feel like you said, it's separate, but at the same time it's together, because most riders have always listened to rap music. Like when you ask like most people that are riding at the X Games, what are they listening to? They usually are like hip hop. So for me, it was just kind of filling that gap and really bringing together the fact that people have been already integrating it, but people just haven't been vocally speaking about it, if that makes sense. The integration was always there, but people weren't actually having these conversations. And I feel like now people are starting to have these conversations, which is kind of fire.
Thanks to you, which is what makes it so cool. Like, you should try to be all nonchalant and low key about it and humble. Like, no, like, we see what you're doing. You're out here doing big things. I think it's so impressive that you're able to do that, because it shows such a great commitment to discipline on both sides, you know. And it's cool. I'm sure you're out there riding to your own like music and stuff like that. I'm sure you're bumping your own singles sometimes too, but I think it's so cool. How does it feel to be a woman in a space that is so largely dominated by men on both sides? Because you chose hip hop and then you chose a super competitive sport.
Yeah, I mean, so I always feel like, so for me, I'm just like one of those people. When I walk into a room, I'm like, listen, like I'm going to make my own seat at the table. So either you're going to invite me to sit at the table, or I'm going to create my own table. So I feel like just starting off rapping, you kind of get used to being that only, because it's interesting even now when we see women within hip hop, it's probably the first time in history that we see so many female rappers out at the same time. And I feel like just being in hip hop, like you get used to being that one girl in the room who's rhyming. Even still, like till this day, it's like the ratio is crazy. And so I feel like you have that on the hip hop side, but then you have snowboarding, which like you said is a male dominated sport, and it's honestly a white male dominated sport because it's expensive to do. So the accessibility in terms of even just having access to it is very minimal. So I feel like I've always been that kind of girl that I'm like, I hang out with the guys and listen, like you guys are gonna have to accept that I'm here. So you're either rocking with me, you may not be, but I'm still doing my thing. So you're gonna have to respect men.
Like they say, gotta put some respect on my name.
Exactly.
At the end of the day, look, I feel like if you don't like me, you're just gonna get used to me being here, and that's about it. Like whether you like, you could sit next to me or you could sit across from me, but we still gonna be here in the same spot. So you pick, pick where you want to put your energy.
Exactly.
I love that so much for you. So where do you find most of your inspiration when it comes to your music?
I feel like, you know, it's usually just kind of what I'm going through. Like I'm fortunate to travel a nice, decent bit too. So I always feel like just being in different places and just kind of experiencing different things is always like an inspiration for me. But like I said, I'm definitely like an outdoors girl, but I'm also a city girl. So same thing. It's like I find just as much inspiration in the mountains as I do the city. So I kind of feel like I'm constantly like traveling back and forth. So it's almost like there's always something to talk about. There's always something to talk about on and then there's always some kind of inspiration to find in the mountains. So it's a mix of the two.
I love that. I'm sure. I just can't even imagine what that's got to be like to come down a super big mountain and just have, I don't know, it's probably not that long, like a minute or two of just that silence and, you know, feeling the air and I don't know. It just sounds so cool to me. I'm like, I just want to live through you.
No, we're gonna go together and listen. And then once you get used to it, then I'm gonna bring you the really big mountains in Colorado. There's actually like trails that honestly can take you 10 to 15 minutes to get down, but we'll work our way up.
Yeah. I'm like, don't laugh at me if I can't make it down the first kiddie trail. Like you know, what do they say? Baby steps. Yeah, I usually try to run before I can crawl, but I think in that instance, I probably need to be a little smarter, because once you get going and you can't stop, that's kind of a problem on a
Yeah,
snowboard.
no, you always want to know how to stop.
Yeah.
That'll be the first thing I'll teach you is how to stop.
Minor detail. Don't worry about it, people. The tree, something will stop me eventually. I love that. No, I would love to do that. I've been saying it for years, and actually a couple months ago, my friends and I were talking about it. They're like, you have to try it, Abbie. So I'll definitely take you up on that at some point. And I think, especially with you being a girl, man, that is just so cool that you're rocking things out the way you do with so much confidence. Do you find that you intimidate men when it comes to dating? Like, do they feel kind of like, oh man, she's, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know. Listen, Abbie, you know how it goes.
Girl, too well. That's why I'm single.
It's hard out here. It's hard out here. I mean, it's interesting because I always feel like, too, it's so funny. We live in a time where it's like, oh, like, we want independent this, like, you don't want blah, 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 blah. But then at the same time, whenever people meet that, they're like, oh, that's a lot. I always say it's one of those, like, it's interesting when you deal with women that it's like, it comes down, we want you, but we don't need you, right? So you got to find like a dude that kind of understands that. So that's actually a little bit harder than you would think.
When someone who's confident and sure of himself and can be supportive and not feel intimidated by everything that you've got going on, because I mean, look, I'm independent, but like, I'm not saying I don't want a man. Like, I would love to be with somebody, but not an insecure somebody or an overly controlling, or I don't know. We live in a weird society. I'm like, you shop for people now. Like, you don't even meet people anymore. It's just let me swipe left, swipe right. Like, that's it. It's weird.
It's weird. We were like, it's weird. I know. It's like it's a different kind of energy that I don't know if I'm about. So
yeah, I'm not about that life myself. Like, I'm just gonna let you know right now. It's strange. I don't know how I feel about it, but everyone's got, the different takes and their different perspectives on that. Do you find that you put some of your personal business in your music? Because, sometimes people always like, they're really, I feel like you're really good about keeping your private life private, but sometimes you can find some little gems in the music. So are you kind of giving little pieces of yourself when people pay attention to the music or the lyrics, or are you keeping that on the low?
No, I mean, I'm definitely private, but I will say if you're actually listening to the music, you can definitely hear little glimpses of what's probably happening in my life at the time. You just kind of have to listen a little bit closer.
You said that real different. You said what's probably happening in my life. Like, I feel in your head, you were like, nope, it's what happened. Yep, that happened. Sometimes you look back and you're like, did I really do that? Did I really waste my time on this?
I know.
Right. But I love that so much for you. I think that it makes life experiences, and I think even personal relationships, really mold an artist to being a whole different caliber of performer, because you feel life and lyrics and music so differently than if you hadn't had that, right? So if you hadn't experienced love or heartbreak, it'd be so hard to convey that. And I don't care if you sing or rap or what you do, you're still a person, you still have a heart, still have feelings. So I think that, it's really cool to see how you're keeping the balance with everything, but your days have to be crazy. What's a typical day like for you?
Oh, yeah. I always say I wish there was like 27-hour days versus 24. I always say I maximize my time. I'm like a big time management person because there's always something going on and I'm always running into the next thing and like prepping for the next trip. So I find I get up early, I do my morning workout, get the endorphins going, and dive into my meetings, catch up on studio stuff, do what I need to do. I'm one of those like strict to-do list people. I know that probably sounds so corny, but I have like my morning to-do list and I like check things off, because not only then I'm like, all right, I got everything done that I have to do, but then it feels good. Like once you cross off one thing, it's like you kind of get motivated by that, and then you just keep going. So I feel like I just kind of have to have everything organized and like super scheduled, and that's how I keep on track.
Yeah, I'm really great with some things, but time management is not it. So big kudos to you on that. Because if I did that, my days would probably be a lot smoother than they are at this particular moment. But with everything that you have going on, when do you make time for you? Sounds like it's all work around the clock. constant grind. But when do you slow down? Do you ever slow down?
I I try to, but I also meditate a lot though.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely really big into meditation, and I put that into like my daily practice. And I feel like people talk about like meditation, but people don't really
Mhm.
realize that's actually like a very personal thing. It can look different for everybody else. Like sometimes it's as simple as taking 10 minutes, right? Which is 10 minutes in the grand scheme of things throughout the entire day. Really is not that much. But I like to just kind of meditate a little bit. I light my incense, I light my
Mhm.
candles, and I just kind of get back to feeling grounded. Like I said, I'm into the whole outdoors thing, and like they always say too, when you're feeling really overwhelmed, like the best thing
Mhm.
you can do is literally you go outside barefoot and just step on the grass and the dirt. Like it's like
Yeah.
literally like people were so used to being on the go, like you said, but nature is so grounding and it's so good for the soul. So if I'm
Yeah.
feeling overwhelmed, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna step outside really quick, light an incense, and then I'm like, all right, I feel good.
You're like, I can go back to my normal routine now. That's really great that you prioritize that, though. Everyone doesn't have that balance. And I think that that's so important to being able to have longevity in a business like this that it consumes so much out of a person. So, when you're getting ready to work on a project and you're going to the studio, what's your creative process typically like?
So whenever I'm in the studio, I like to just kind of shut everything else from the outside world down. I like don't like using my phone in the studio. I don't like
Mhm.
checking like notifications and messages and things like that. Just kind of feel like I don't like the frequencies mixing. I just kind of want to focus on being creative. So I usually just kind of almost separate myself from the world and just kind of focus on being in the actual studio. And
Mhm.
like I said, I'm a big person into incense and candles, so I'll bring that with me. And really, I just like I'm a big energy person too, so
Mhm.
I like to make sure that the vibe is right. The people that I'm working with, I'm like one of those people. It's like before we focus on recording, how are you feeling? Do you feel good? Because if you
Mhm.
feel good, the session's gonna go better. If you're not feeling good, then let's talk about it. Because maybe you and I can find a way to bring that out into the music. So I feel
Mhm.
like I'm always kind of checking my vibe, but then I'm also checking the vibe around people, the people around me, right? Because really we're all connected and all of those frequencies are like bouncing off of each other. So
Yeah.
for me, it's just kind of like walking into a room and, feeling what's going on in that room. And then just, it kind of flows.
Do you feel like you might be a little bit of an empath?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Mm. That's the worst. When you
For
channel other
sure.
people's energy, it's a lot to have to take in because you walk into a room when, if, like you said, if the vibe isn't right, there's no getting past it. You can't work with it. It's just like
Oh,
you
yeah.
either got to go to
Yeah.
another room, got to start over, wait till the next day, something, because it's not gonna work out.
Yeah. There's been times where literally I like come home and I'm like, I need to sage myself.
Just from the people you were around. Listen, I feel you on that. That's happened to me a lot. And you sit there and you're like, man, I should have just stayed home to deal with this. This is crazy. I got to tell you guys, too, for everybody listening in right now, if you don't know who Miranda Writes is, you need to go check her out. Writes is spelled with a W. She is so beautiful when you see her. I'm like, sometimes you see people and you talk to them and they're like really different from like their Instagram. Like you got IG versus reality is like totally different things. But you are seriously so stunning and you have such good energy
Oh,
about you. You seem like you're so
thank you.
humble and just so hardworking, but so kind at the same time.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Where do you get that from? Is that a family thing that you got growing up? Is that something that you adapted over the years? Because a lot of times you meet people in this business and you know that energy, that arrogance, and that, woo, 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 I'm this, I'm doing this, I'm making moves. It changes
Mhm.
people a lot, but you just seem like so grounded and so well rounded in so many ways. What do you
I
attribute
mean,
that
I
to?
I just always say, I know it sounds funny, but I'm honestly just happy to be here. I always say, like, I feel, fortunate to be able to do things that I enjoy because of something that I love. And I think this is something that's also been just a growing process for me, because I think in this business, like you said, we're always focused, what's the next move, right? What's the next check? What's the next brand? Like, what are we doing next, right? And it can be so easy to focus on more and more and more. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, because I
Right.
feel like that just comes down to being a hustler. There's nothing wrong with wanting more. But I think it's also important to kind of enjoy the ride and enjoy the process. I think I used to not enjoy it as much because I was as focused. But then it's kind of interesting. Sometimes you just take a step back and then you realize that like everything always comes full circle and
It
things
really
just kind of
does.
come into place. And I always say, like, what's for me? Like, there's a difference between working towards something and then forcing something. So I've always had the mentality, like, what's for me is going to be for me, right? It's not going to feel like
Right.
this like thing that I'm forcing. And then also too, if something's for you, somebody else can't take that away from you. You know what I mean? Like, you can't take somebody's energy away from them. So if you just show up and be you and feel good, like, you're going to attract, like, that's just like the law of attraction. So I just kind of feel like I show up, I'm just happy to be here, and I get to meet some pretty cool people along the way.
Just kind of cool people, sort of cool people
Kind
that
of
are
cool
out here breaking
people.
records, doing like insane stuff with their life. I told you guys, she's humble. She's so humble, but you really are doing big things. Let's talk a little bit about your music. We didn't really dive into that yet. And I think it's really dope that you choose to do music the way that you do, because it sounds like you embrace it from a different perspective than most artists do. And for everybody out here, listen, artists are sensitive about their you know what I mean? Like it's like your baby. Everything when it comes to your music. Do you
Yeah.
have like a favorite song or a top two favorites that you've recorded so far where you're like, this is my jams, or is it just equal love for all of it?
It's interesting. I kind of feel like at this point, I used to always have a favorite, but now I kind of feel like it's equal love, because I feel like music, like you said, it is a very personal thing. And also, too, I feel like a catalog really speaks volumes because our emotions change every single day. So, for
All the time.
instance, I could write a song 2 weeks ago that was really relevant and then listen to that same song today and be like, you know what? I don't even feel that way anymore. But yet that person listening to that song, they could be like, well, I love it because it's relevant to them. So I feel like, I don't know if there's like a certain like song in particular that I would say is my favorite, but I just feel like I've just been on this interesting journey. Like, when I first started rhyming, I started off very much in like underground, like grassroots hip hop, like Park Jam, street ciphers, like going around like DJ Red Alert and Ran Was It Theodore and like Chuck D and Public Enemy and all of those guys. And it was just very much like grassroots hip hop. And then I just kind of started getting more into like doing like my, or more like the commercial side, but then diving into dance music and pop music and reggae and just alternative. And I just have fun musically. I don't like to put myself in a box. I think as artists, like, people always want to be like, well, what do you sound like? But when you think about like the greatest artists of all time, the reason why they're great is because they sound like them. So for me,
Exactly.
like, I just want to be me and and just kind of go with my own vibe. So I feel like that's kind of just what I do.
And you do. You definitely do that. Because when I heard your stuff, I couldn't compare you to anyone. Do you remember what the first rhyme was that you ever wrote?
I don't, there's like the actual lyrics or to the what it was to.
The actual lyrics.
No, I definitely would not.
Oh,
but
that's a shame. I was
but
definitely trying to hear that. I was like, wait, so if you remember it, can we
no.
hear some?
I wish I could remember because it would be so from so long ago. However, though, the song I did, I'll never forget it because it was my first cover that I ever posted on YouTube, was to The Choice Is Yours.
Oh, look at
So like,
that. She said, we're going
yeah,
way back.
yes. We're going way back. It was like super like underground, like grassroots hip hop. But like I said, I love that. And I love like, everything now. Like I said, I study music. I've always been like that. Like, I like to study music. So I appreciate everything. I like the club shit. Like I like everything. I like just different vibes. I listen to a lot of different genres. Like I love dance music. I love pop music. I love reggae. And so I don't know. I listen to everything. I feel like that's why there's a lot of different elements within my sounds, because I pull from so many different places.
Well, they say it's important to always stay a student of the game, period, regardless of how far along you get or how much success you achieve, that it's always important to still be a student, which is really, it really plays a big factor in how you evolve as an artist over time and how your artistry develops, because you're not always going to be the same person. Your life isn't going to always be the same experiences. So with everything you've got going on, what do you have coming out now? What new projects do you have in the works? I definitely want to hear all about it. Like, what was the inspiration? What's going on? Is something new dropping that other people maybe don't know about? What's happening?
So I just released my Halloween song, which is called Spell on You. So that's kind of fun. And I released my other single, Nothing Average. I have so much music, Abbie, that I need to drop. So now I'm like, all right, we need to just keep dropping things, because it's ridiculous the amount of music that I'm holding on to at this point. So I've been dropping a lot. And then I also dropped my song Been Outside, which is like this dope, like fun party record. So those are all like the recent releases. But I will be dropping more of like the dance hall reggae vibe next month, which I'm excited about.
A little something to wind the ways to a little bit. Okay.
A little bit. We're gonna wind ourselves into the holidays.
Right. It is cuddle season, so I'm sure some people are looking for a little something to wind to.
You're right. It is cuffing season. So
yeah. It's so funny because a lot of my friends are so into reggae, and they're like, it's always about the vibe that you get when you're out, and the culture when it comes to reggae is so different. It's not really about what you have on or what you've been doing. It's really just about the vibe that you bring in the building for that party. So I'm really excited to hear that. Yes.
Yeah, no, I'm excited because it's vibey. I just feel like reggae is one of those like universal genres that it just vibey. It feels good. I mean, that's why, right? Like do you really know anybody that doesn't like Bob Marley? Like I've never heard anybody say that. Oh, I don't like Bob Marley. Ever. Because it's so vibey. How do you not like it?
How do you not like it? If you didn't like it, I feel like something is wrong with you. Like, do we need to have a conversation? Are you okay? It's a little something, I love me some Bob Marley too, and I don't even smoke, but I'm all about Bob Marley. He's got some great records that still are timeless today. It wasn't like an era thing. It's just a music thing. It's great music. Mm-hmm. And if it makes you feel something, then that's what matters, then you're doing your job as an artist. Do you have any shows coming up anytime soon where people can come check you out?
Yes, actually, well, so if I have any snowboarders, I will be hosting and performing next month in Minnesota for Benny's Base Camp for Red Bull. So that should be fun.
That's exciting.
So I'm excited about that. And then I'll be rolling out different show dates. I always post my show dates like on my social media because things pop up. And then too, I host a lot of like private parties and stuff too. So I'm always doing something. The question is, will you catch me in public or is it a private event?
Everywhere, both. Period. You just need to find the right place, right time. That's really what it boils down to. I'm so excited to see how all this stuff unfolds for you, especially coming into the new year and all that, because I know you stay so busy. I know you're going to be cooking something really cool up, to bring everybody into 2023. Is there, I was kind of curious because I'm listening to you talk and you do so much and you stay so busy and you're so dedicated to kind of living everything outwardly, right? So everybody kind of knows about what you do with sports. They know about your journey in music. But what's something that most people don't know? Like, are you at home like drawing or stenciling? Or are you knitting or something? Like, do you have a cool hobby you're into?
I'm trying to think. I run a lot. I'm like a big runner.
Okay. Nice.
I don't know how exciting that is, but like I love running. Like that's one of my favorite things that I do during the week, probably because it keeps me sane and it feels good. Like how they talk about like runner's high.
Yeah.
So that, and then also I'm really into crystals. I like that kind of stuff. And I'm one of those people that I'm like, oh, I'm in a new city. Great. I'm going to like map like the nearest crystal shop.
Holla, y'all can catch her at the nearest crystal store, any city near you. Now the crystal shops are going to be waiting for you to come so they can gift you something to go promo it. We got crystals, girl.
Oh my goodness, then I'll really not be able to fit them all. I love them.
Right, you're going to come up on your social media talking about, you get a crystal, you get a crystal.
I know. You get a crystal, and you need a crystal.
That'd be a great way to shade somebody without being like outwardly rude and shady, you know? I love it. I like that. That's so good. I could totally see the crystals thing though, especially because you're such an energy person. But the running thing, kudos to you. I hate running. I did soccer and all we did was run. It's not my thing. I'll go do anything else. Zumba, HIIT classes, whatever. But I can't get into running. Right? But one of my friends, he loves running like how you do. And he says that it's almost like a nostalgic feeling, but also such a release, you know, because it kind of takes you away from the rest of the world. And so I'm like, kudos to you, bro. He's like, you want to come running this week? I'm like, nah, I think I got to go stare at the wall or something. But, you know, I love that for you so much. I wish I could get into it because I think it's such a healthy hobby and thing to like to do because it's good for your body. It's good for the mind, good for the soul. So I'm really happy that in the midst of everything that's going on, especially because it's such an industry that's so easy to get lost and caught up in, that you're still staying so true to your core, your values, and who you are and how you want to be represented, not just as an artist and an athlete, but also as a woman in this space. So much respect to you for everything that you're doing. I'm so glad we got a chance to talk. We'll definitely be staying in touch. Girl, I'm going to take you up on that snowboarding thing. You just got to promise you're not going to laugh at me.
Of course not. And I feel like, you know, that's what it's all about. I just feel like as people, I'm like, you know, it's interesting. And I'm one of those people, I always like to say, like, people, we're not bad, right? Like, we just it's in our nature to love. I just feel like we go through a lot of bullshit in life. And that's usually the things that make us feel so enclosed. But that's why I always say, like, if I'm listening, if I can make you smile, whether it's through a show or like, you know, just a conversation, I feel like I'm doing my job. And I feel like as women too, that's why I appreciate you so much. It's so important that like we support each other and elevate each other. It's one of those things, if I bring you snowboarding and you fall up, like you fall down, guess what? I'm going to help you get back up. And I just feel like we need more of that. And I feel like when you do that, it's contagious. You know what I mean? So I just feel like good vibes, like they just spread. So that's really what I'm here for. That's what I like to do. And that's what I hope to do in my music and really everything that I just do on a day-to-day basis. So I appreciate you. Thank you so much for having me and allowing, you know, me to be on here and chat with you and talked good vibes and positive energy.
Of course. I'm like, what? We're doing this again. Just wait till you drop something new and you listen. We're going to round 2. Okay. It's going to be like the reunion.
Yeah. I would love that. I
can't wait to hear about at that point, you know, what updates you might have, because I'm sure you're going to have all sorts of stuff that you're going to get into in the next few months. But if anybody wants to keep up with you, I know that your music is available on all streaming platforms right now. So people can go find you by searching Miranda Writes, and that's WRITES. But if they want to come find you on your socials, where can they go?
Yeah, so I keep it really simple for all of you guys, right? So Miranda Writes, WRITES on all platforms. So follow me on the gram, follow me on TikTok, follow me. Really, I'm on everything. So just put that in Google and connect with your girl. And I appreciate you, Abbie. Thank you so much.
No, thank you. I'm like, you guys better go make sure you holla, show some love, slide in the DMs, like a picture, go stream everything, all that at the same time.
Yeah, for sure.
It's been such a pleasure.
Do it all. Like, oh my God, I'm so popular today.
Right.
Thank you.
Hey, they say go hard or go home, period. Okay. Gotta do it all.
Exactly.
I love that. It's been so nice chatting with you. We're going to take a quick break, but we'll be right back. Make sure you guys don't go anywhere. You're listening to the Abbie Knights Show.